asked you to picture a football player for a major football powerhouse program like the University of Southern California, what would you imagine? Would you imagine a tall, good-looking athlete with a muscular build, blonde hair, and a bright smile? What if I said picture him on the field? Would you imagine footballs flying towards his colorful uniform on a vivid backdrop of green field? That's a pretty picture, isn't it? But I want you to imagine something else. Picture that same football player in the middle of the field, only this time he's the long snapper, and he's blind. Standing on the field, how does he not flinch when cleats he can't see come stampeding towards him? What does he do when he hears helmets crash and pads crunch and feels droplets of sweat from a player he can smell but can't see? How in the midst of this chaos does a blind man know how to grab a football, shoot it through his legs and into the holder's grip just in time for the kicker to get it through the uprights? If he's Jake Olson, he does it in the dark. He snaps the ball and it lands gently in front of the kicker, whose powerful leg then sends it through the poles. If you're sighted, this is a must-see moment. But if you're the guy who did it, you didn't see anything at all. Today on Right Now, you'll meet Jake Olson, the blind long snapper from the University of Southern California. And I promise after seeing him, you will never look at life the same way again. Welcome to Right Now. I'm your host, Jennifer Shookman. I'm so excited today to have Jake Olson with us. In addition to being the long snapper for the University of Southern California, Jake is also a blind motivational speaker. He's an athlete in other sports. Can you believe that? And he's also an author. He's written books. That's pretty impressive. Jake, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. It's our pleasure. Most guests I wouldn't start here, but with you, I want to start with, tell us what happened when you were born. That's a long way back for people, but your story starts there.
Yeah, so when I was 8 months old, I was diagnosed with a rare form of eye cancer called retinoblastoma. And when the doctors found it, they found it late, and so the cancer had completely taken over my left eye. So the removal of the eye was really the only option, as the fear is the tumor moving through the retina to the optic nerve and then to the brain, which then obviously creates a fatal situation. And so they had to remove my left eye, but we were able to save my right eye with chemotherapy and laser treatment. And then for the next 12 years, pretty much lived a life of going to doctors' offices and praying that the cancer was gone, and you know, sometimes we'd receive the news it was, and then you know, a year later we received the news it had come back, and then it started the whole system over again. So the cancer came back around 8 times, and finally at the age of 12 the same determination was made as when I was 1 with my left eye. Of the right eye had to be removed in order to preserve my life.
Wow, let me back up and ask you a little bit about that. So you're a young man going to school, kindergarten, we all have memories of those kinds of things. You have memories of being in doctor's offices and getting bad news, maybe good news, and some more bad news. How did that feel growing up with that?
When I was real young, I didn't understand it was different. I remember in kindergarten graduation, I remember having to leave early for that, and when we were walking out in the parking lot, my mom just started breaking down and crying, and I remember asking her, you know, why are you crying, Mom? Because we were having to leave early. I was going to go receive chemotherapy, and she just was crying. She's like, you know, like other kids don't have to do this, Jake. Like, you know, so I really didn't understand when I was in kindergarten. I remember even going into to the ocularist, the person who does the prosthesis for the eyes, when I was a little kid, and I have a twin sister, and I remember, you know, when is Emma going to get her eye taken out? Like, when are they going to fit her for not? You know, so it's just, as a little kid, you don't understand necessarily that you're different in that sense. But, you know, then you do start realizing just that every kid doesn't have to go through that, and you do start coming to terms with having to miss school and the pain that does come with treatments, and just everything that obviously comes with facing cancer.
Yeah, so this is happening to you, and it sounds like you're also sensitive to what it's doing to your parents as you're going through this. Do you remember any other kinds of things that they felt as, or you felt for them as you were doing this?
Well, you know, I think it's just obviously for any parent just hard to see their child go through battling cancer. You know, I know my dad. You know, I've seen him cry. You know, throughout my childhood many times. Just that his baby boy had to go through that. My mom, you know, she was really strong, but you know, she had her moments as well. And yeah, it's difficult. But I think that was one of the reasons why I made a constant decision just to be as positive as I could and just to fight through, because you know it's hard enough for them to deal with their own emotions, seeing their child go through that, and for me then to put the burden on them of me not doing well emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, and kind of having all those issues on top of cancer, I think would have made it a lot harder. So I really wanted to kind of step up, you know, as a child and try not to make that more difficult on them than it already was.
But Jake, you're 9, 10, or 11 years old, and you're trying not to put burdens on your parents. I mean, that's a burden you're carrying. That's a huge deal. Talk about your faith, because I know you said your family was a family of faith. How did that play into all this?
Yeah, well, I mean, we grew up, you know, obviously Christian, and my parents, you know, blessed me and really were, you know, active in me in getting a relationship with the Lord. But I realized at a young age that it had to be my decision. You know, I was going to have to work on a relationship with the Lord because I needed His strength and comfort. I mean, there wasn't any way around it. And you know, at a young age, I did find great peace and great comfort in knowing that there was a plan for me out there. You know, that yeah, okay, the cancer came back another time, but it just I still had that peace and comfort knowing it was for a reason. And so it just was at an early age I decided to get baptized. I decided to make that relationship my own. And you know, I was, you know, really close with God as a child, and just battling through cancer. I mean, it was, again, I don't know how people do it without faith. I don't know how I would have ever done it without faith. And so I'm really grateful for my parents for obviously introducing that, and really grateful that, you know, God doesn't require you to be an adult to have a relationship with Him.
It sounds like you've had a much more mature faith than people who've lived, you know, decades longer than you at that point and did that. Was it something you felt alone with this as it went on? I mean, you're your kids struggling with this, and you're also trying not to make it worse on your parents, and you're making some really brave and courageous decisions to live positively and do your best. Is that something you're doing alone, or how do you make those decisions?
Well, I don't think I didn't really ever feel alone necessarily. I mean, there was definitely times where, you know, I felt, and even today, you know, being blind, I mean, you still feel like, you know, just people don't understand,
right.
You know, what you're going through, or maybe the little hardships in the day that you just kind of brush aside, that people just don't understand you do that. Mm-hmm. But I had a great family, a great friend, great support group, people that loved and cared for me and supported me, and you know, really believed in everything I believed in, and were willing to push me and take and build upon my mentality of just facing adversity and overcoming it, and really push me to do that. And so, I mean, it was a team effort.
So there would be days you'd go into the doctor's office and they go, looks good. And then there'd be another year you'd come back and they would say, it doesn't look good.
Right.
And I'm sure, you know, as you talked about your faith, you were praying for it to be gone, praying for you to be healed. What would happen in your mind when the doctor said, it looks like it's back?
Well, you know, there was actually, so when I was in first grade, right actually around the time I decided to have my, you know, personal relationship with God, and to get baptized. It was actually looking pretty dire, in the sense that they thought they were going to have to remove my right eye at that time. There was a big tumor that had grown back. It was leaking some type of fluid, and really this was the last checkup before that decision was going to be made. And the doctors went in and the tumor was just gone. I mean, the fluid was gone, the tumor was gone, and it was,
wow.
Yeah, it was a miracle. And
wow.
And to this day, I mean, you could ask my doctors, they don't know how it happened. So, you know, there was moments like that were just amazing. And then, you know, there was moments where, you know, you thought you had it, and it just wouldn't go away, or, you know, the tumor would come back, you know, a year and a half later, we're just, gosh, you know, I thought we had it this time. Why is it back again? Mm-hmm. So, you know, there's both those moments. But I mean, again, at the end of the day, it was, I truthfully believe it was preparing me for my biggest battle, and that was a life without physical sight and going blind.
So somewhere in 2009, is that correct? You got the news that they're going to have to remove the eye?
Yeah, so sometime in September, we learned that the cancer had come back, and we were going to do some treatment on it, and then October 1st, actually, they went to do some cryotherapy on it, and the doctor kind of found some other tumors that were kind of hiding way back there, and it just was kind of the situation that they pretty much said to my mom, this, we can try to throw stuff we have at it. I mean, at this point, we'd run through every trick in the book.
Yeah, you've exhausted
right.
the options,
So
yeah.
the cancer, I mean, it pretty much become immune to it. So it's we can keep trying to fight this, but again, you do run the risk of it spreading.
Yeah.
And
the risk is huge. If
exactly.
Spreads, yeah.
So I mean, you are throwing dice with your life. So I mean, the removal of eye was pretty much the only option. And so yeah, it was tough, obviously, for multiple reasons. You think of a life without physical sight. I realized how much I use my eyes. So to think of.
So who told you that was this a decision your parents sat down and said we need to make this together, or the doctor told you? How did you actually learn that this was going to happen?
It was actually probably in the worst way that my parents. So they again. It was earlier that day. We had again, they went in to do some cryotherapy. The doctor told them that I was going to have to lose my eyesight. And afterwards, they really weren't going to, they didn't tell me right away. Obviously, after the surgery, we went, my tradition was to get Red Robin afterwards. So we went to Red Robin and went home, was just in the house. And I remember my dad was actually with my twin Emma. She was at a basketball game, and there was a phone, and I don't know why I did, but I ran upstairs and picked it up, and heard my mom talking to the doctor, and pretty much just heard them say like, Jake's gonna have to go blind, and that was, I mean, I remember just breaking down, screaming. Like, my mom didn't know I was on the phone, so she kind of came running upstairs, and she was freaking out because now I heard, and I remember her calling my dad and like, we have a situation, like Jake found out, because they were going to tell me, obviously, but
right.
they just wanted to wait.
They wanted to do it in a planned kind of way, and you sort of overheard it.
So that was, that was obviously just tough, and so I remember my dad coming home and sits that family down and just saying, we're going to get through this. It's going to be tough, but we're going to get through this, and so they kind of started the whole thing. I remember sleeping with them that night, and I don't know, from that moment on and really until the surgery on November 12th, it just was a month and a half of very cool experiences, obviously, but also just the thought. I mean, even that night was just looking at my parents and just, I don't want to stop seeing you guys. I don't want to live a life without sight.
Oh, I can't imagine. What did you do during those 6 weeks? Like, were there things that you said I want to do, or were there things that you just felt you had to do, or how did that 6 weeks play out?
There was obviously USC, which was fantastic and an awesome experience.
So you've been a USC fan for a long time, and so you said to your dad, I want to. Yeah.
So Coach Carroll invited me up to practice, and somehow my story got to him. It wasn't really like a make a wish type deal. Sure. It was just Coach Carroll being gracious enough. He just pretty much invited me up to practice, but it was much more than practice. It was being in the meetings, meeting the players, eating dinner afterwards, and traveling with the team to Notre Dame, traveling to hotels when they're at home, going to locker rooms before and after games, becoming obviously friends with Coach and the players, and just them really making me an honorary member of the team and a little brother. And it just was something in that time of darkness to be embraced by my heroes and just a group of guys that, again, didn't have to do any of this and just were choosing to love me and support me. It was very comforting. So that was just an awesome experience. I'm a big golfer. So actually that summer before, I'd played Pebble Beach for the first time.
Oh, wow.
But I wanted to go back and play it. So we went up and played it again. And, it's obviously just enjoyed the beauty of just what Pebble Beach and the entire Monterey coast is.
Did you do anything to prepare? Like, were you learning how to walk with a cane or read Braille or anything? Was that part of it?
They didn't start me learning Braille till after the surgery. But yeah, there was some. We had a cane beforehand and did some stuff with some guys, putting on classes that prohibited me from seeing and walking with the camera for the site. But the whole orientational ability training and braille training that really started after losing my sight.
Okay. So you had the surgery, you woke up, and what does that moment feel like when you went to bed to sleep, seeing, and then woke up?
I realized I was blind. To be honest, it was it was like a burden that was relieved in the sense that, again, there was so much anxiety and build up to that moment happening.
Yeah.
And so now that it happened, I'm not the one to ever get caught up over it.
Yeah.
I'm not the one to sit there and dwell over what has happened. I mean,
Right.
it's happened. So it was my, my life I still had to live, and I wasn't going to live a life I didn't want to live. I was going to live the life I wanted to live, and so that meant being a normal kid and continue to play sports and continue to do everything.
Do you wake up thinking, well, let's play sports?
Well, yeah, I mean, I actually played in my flag football team playoffs 6 days later. I mean, it just was. I just wanted to go do my normal things. It just was something that I didn't want. I realized I was blind and I accepted it, and it just was, let's move on and let's go, like I said, live a childhood that's fun and, a life that's what I want to do. So, I mean, the sadness and the anxiety and the anger that really existed before the surgery was really diminished after the surgery.
It's done now. How do we make a life out of this? So you must have pretty incredible parents who are going to take their 6-day-old blind child and let him play in a flag football game.
To this day, I still don't know how that really worked, but I did. I played center. I mean, it was,
That's awesome. So there must have been a point then as you're getting into high school, you're wanting to continue golfing and these things, and you just said, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to work hard.
Yeah. So I played golf all 4 years of high school, which was awesome. And I really worked hard on my golf game to get that to the point of where I was playing before losing my sight, and then for advance even further than that to playing better golf than I had with sight. And that took a lot of time and a lot of practice.
A lot of frustrating.
Yeah. And with football, I played, that last playoff game after I went blind in 7th grade, and then my whole 8th grade season. So that was fun. But then I didn't play my freshman or sophomore year of high school. Really was kicking myself that I was missing a huge opportunity to play high school ball.
And why didn't you play? You just chose not to?
It was tackle football. Didn't really see a position I could play on the field.
Yeah.
We were in a pretty tough league, pretty competitive, and just didn't really see a place out there.
Yeah.
But I got sick and tired of watching. I really wanted to find a place, so I did. And I was a long snapper, so in a sophomore year, worked really hard and throughout that summer going to junior year and earned a starting spot in my junior year.
You just said, I'm going to do this, and you just went out and started snapping the ball.
Yeah. Well, our snapper who was 2 years ahead of us was pretty good, and the coaches had no backup plan when he left, and so I just,
like, I can do that.
I worked with the coach, for that whole summer, and was like, there's a vacancy, so let me take it.
That's amazing. And then you played in the games. And,
yeah.
And what is that like, being on the field, knowing that there are other football players trying to smash you to the ground?
Well, I mean, their objective is not to hit me so much as is to block the kick. So
Right.
I mean, I'm not getting pummeled out there necessarily, but I mean,
But it could happen.
You get hit and you fall on the ground. I mean, it's just something that happens. But
it's something that happens.
I mean, I feel more safe than a wide receiver going over the middle or something like that.
Right.
So but yeah, I mean, it just was. It was funny because I'd been playing golf for 4 years and really had tapped into the muscle memory and the feel of golf, and that's how obviously I played golf. And so when it came to long snapping, it was that similar mindset and using that same part of that brain of just, okay, this is what a good snap feels like, so let's repeat that over and over again. And so, just being out there on Friday night, I mean, it was awesome. It was to play high school ball is just,
Fun.
yeah, any high school boy that he's able to play high school ball is just make memories and relationships that last you forever, and for me to be able to play on the next level is just incredible.
So let's fast forward. You graduate from high school. You're hoping to go to USC, and you get in.
Yeah. My goal was always getting USC, so I got in, and then.
How do you think, like, I'm going to play on the USC team? Like, how does that come up?
So since 7th grade, since Coach Carroll had brought me in there, I pretty much stayed in obviously pretty good contact with the athletic department in USC. So coming up there, once I started playing high school, then all of a sudden I was a recruit. And I got into USC, and our Pat Hayden and Coach Stark at the time were just, you're coming here, you know how to long snap. Why don't you snap on the team for us? And that was just, something that was a huge opportunity that was just going to be amazing. So I jumped all over it, and said, okay, yeah, I'm going to work really hard and become the best long snapper I can be to be out here and prove that I deserve to be out here. So it's just been an amazing experience. And
so what was the moment like when he said that and you were like, I can do this?
Well, it was just one moment. They started talking to me at my end of my junior year, like senior year. They started, hey, just keep working hard at it. We're gonna obviously, like, when you get in, we're gonna have you here, everything. So it was kind of this gradual build up to it. But once I got in and then was brought to the banquet and was introduced and was introduced to the it was like a booster dinner that I was gonna be on the team and everything. It was just made it finalized. It was awesome. That night was amazing.
That's pretty impressive. All right, so you spent some time in the practice team, and then this year you get the big break to go into the game.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was coach had told me that there was a good chance of getting out, and it just was something that I realized the significance of the moment. It was going to be huge. It's something I waited for, and Trojan Nation had been waiting for. So I knew it was going to be an awesome story, but at the same time, it was the same snap I've done over and over again.
Yeah.
I didn't want to make more of it than it was in the sense of just doing my job out there.
Right.
So I went out there, and it was surreal and just awesome knowing here we're in game, and here I'm running out for a snap, and it's gonna be a live snap, and this kick's gonna put points on the board. That's gonna be put in a history book. That's gonna be remembered forever. It's just like. It matters, It's just and to be able to play for a team that I loved and grown up desiring.
That's a big dream for any young man,
right,
let alone one who's blind and setting all kinds
exactly. So just
of
to know
records with that.
I was wearing that jersey out there in those colors, and it just is a really cool feeling, cool opportunity, and I'm glad I've made these memories.
USC has a blind snapper, and his name is Jake Olson. And there may be some communication going on right now between the USC and Western Michigan coaches to alert them that the Trojans are about to put him in to snap this extra point. And he snaps some kicks at USC spring games, but he's never done this in a live football game. So here he is.
So Jake Olson, how about this for an inspirational moment? He is out there snapping. And a good snap from Jake. Listen to the crowd. Look at the USC sideline. What a moment. Look at the excitement right there from Jake Olson.
Did you always hope you would get in a game, or did you always know, like, I'm going to make it happen no matter what it takes?
No, I'm going to make it. Yeah. No, I wasn't going to go on the team. As awesome as it's been, and it has been, just being part of the team and being part of the experience. But yeah, I definitely want to get in the game and get some game time experience and go out there and show people that I have the ability to go deliver a nice snap and for a field goal.
It's absolutely incredible what you've done, and it's been done just by your sheer courage and will and repetitive practices at times that I'm sure you would rather have just thrown the clubs down and the ball down than to do it again. I have a quote that when you were just right before you had your second eye taken out, where you said cancer won at that point. I think it was an old quote at that point. Do you still feel that way, or do you feel like you've won now?
Well, I think cancer won in the sense that it took my sight, but I definitely think that I turned around and whipped it back into shape in the sense that just it was okay. You can take my eye, but I'm gonna use this for a powerful and pretty special life, and so I think that in that sense I definitely won.
Yeah, I think so too. How is your faith now as you look at, you've got a little bit of college left, you've got a whole life ahead of you, you've already started speaking, you've written books. What is it that you want to do at this point?
I'm getting a great education and degree at USC, major in business. So I mean that's something that is going to propel me forward in life, in every which direction I want to go. But I love sports. I love football, and I don't want to lose that aspect of my life. I want to continue speaking. I want to continue to motivate people. I believe I'll do that for the rest of my life.
That's amazing. You're amazing. And I thank you so much for being a part of this and just letting the audience know just the kind of courage that it took from a young man, very young boy, to make the decisions that you made, to follow through to where you've been, to see the success that you had, which is, it's astonishing.
Well, I appreciate that. That
a blind man can play college football and do it with the level of success that you've done it. And it's just because of your character, and I think, of course, just God's gifted you in so many ways, and we're just so thankful for you being here and sharing it with us, and we wish you the best of luck as you continue to pursue your athletic career. It's so amazing to even say that to you, and just that God blesses your ministry as you continue to inspire people.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you having me, Jennifer.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for being a part of this. If you haven't been inspired by this, then nothing's going to inspire you. But I hope you'll just learn something from this courage that he had, from the faith he had, and then I hope you'll go out and do something today that takes a little blind faith for you to succeed at. Thanks for being a part of our show today.